Not yet? Okay.
Not yet.
It says it's now streaming live on Facebook. If so,
It is. Okay. Welcome. Welcome everyone to the 2020 Quarantine Book Club. And surprise, oh my gosh, it's my book. I started this book club back in March, and our first book was The Mountain Sing with Kwei Mai, who was awesome. And now we have we're almost towards the end of the year, and now it's my book, which debuted November 5th, Forever 51, Menopausal Vampires. So I welcome everyone who is attending tonight. I appreciate it. I'm feeling the love. I really have. All the people who posted selfies and people who bought the book, and it means a lot to me because, I didn't get into writing because I thought I was going to be super wealthy and famous. It's I just love that I can connect with people from a story and make them laugh. And so if I make a few people laugh and able to escape this dumpster fire of a year, then I win. So welcome to the 2020 Quarantine Book Club. And today's live event is hosted by Amy and Nancy Harrington, sisters who founded the Passionistas Project to inspire women to follow their passions. The project features a podcast, live events on their Facebook group, and the Passionistas Project Pack, a quarterly subscription box filled with products from women-owned businesses and female artisans. They are currently taking orders for the winter box, which ships just in time for the holidays. Go to thepassionistasproject.com for more information about the box and all of the Passionistas projects. Thank you, Amy and Nancy, for making this all run so I don't have to. Because sometimes I'm a little tech challenged.
We'll have a link to the gift box in the discussion somewhere, right?
Please post a link to that, definitely.
And that would be a perfect gift item for those of you that need whatever you do, your Chinese auction Christmas. I don't know, that sounds really bad, but whatever we used to call it. Would y'all call it Yankee Christmas?
It's a good thing to get for people. Right now we don't want to go to stores, and buying things online is the way to go right now. Just don't go to stores, and support people that you want to support, small businesses. You're able to do that. And if you want to buy books for all your friends, use bookshop.org. And that's the way to support small independent bookstores during this pandemic. Because Spamazon, although, I will be the first to admit, it is important to get those reviews, and because it is the world's largest bookseller, they're not hurting for money. And for the mom and pop stores that are out there that, we need to support them right now. So please buy your books from bookshop.org, and I will step down from my soapbox. Thank you. Hi, I'm the author tonight. Okay, I'm not a host.
Yes.
So someone needs to step forward and be the host.
Well, I can host. I was planning. We're ready to start. We are here tonight to celebrate and discuss Pamela Skjolsvik's Forever 51. And I'm Susanna from the group. And I've had the pleasure of knowing Pamela for really a pretty long time. I was the teacher of her son when he was in first grade, and Nick is now in 11th grade. So it's been a good long while. And I'm grateful for that. That's one of the things I'm grateful for. So I'm going to start out asking Pamela the questions that she always asks our author. And the first one is, let's see, when did you start writing this book?
Okay, I think I've answered this a million times already, but I think it's 2015. 2015.
Okay. And how'd you get the idea?
That would be my son, Nick. We were driving, and I used to drive my kids to school, and Nick was a very imaginative young kid and would love to write. Now, not so much. I don't know what happened, but he just said, what would happen? What do you think would happen if like a teenage vampire, like he was tired of being pasty and he went to a tanning salon? What do you think would happen? And so, I thought about like, well, would a tanning bed like burst him into flames, like, fake sun? I'm like, I don't know. But then I started thinking about, I don't know how it came into my head, but an older woman vampire going to a tanning salon because she just, she, was like a last ditch attempt at vanity. And she was like trying to look better. And so she went to get a tanning salon. Yeah.
Or a wedding.
Or a wedding. Yep. Yeah. And it all went to hell.
Okay, so let's talk about agents. How long did it take you to get an agent? Talk about your agent journey.
Okay, well, I've had a couple of agents, but we'll just talk. Okay, I'm a nonfiction writer. That's what I consider myself first. I got my MFA in creative nonfiction, and I wrote a book about death professions for my thesis, and I had an agent who basically rep nonfiction writers. And so he was unable to sell Death Becomes Us to a traditional publishing house. And so I ended up self-publishing that book. And then I was like, he probably isn't going to be the best agent to rep a vampire, which is like the most totally made up thing, ever. So I'm like, I probably need to find like someone who will do that. And I was at a writing conference, the DFW Writers Conference, right here where I live. And I'm on the board of that conference. And I met an agent there who really liked the idea. And I don't know when it was probably like maybe 2018 he took me on. And vampires are a hard sell because most vampire books, they hear vampire and they're like, the market was like pretty darn saturated with every flavor of, sexy vampires and sparkly vampires. And I just, I think that a lot of publishing houses heard vampire and went, no. And, for the people who've read this book, this is not your typical vampire book. This is not, there's no sexy time in this book.
I've always thought the Twilight girls are going to be this age soon. So they'll be.
I agree. This is not your daughter's vampire book. This is for.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about real quickly, what did you have planned for your book launch and what did you do for your book launch, which was November 5th?
Okay. In March, I was in discussion with the Fort Worth Public Library to have an in-person event at the library because they had a big program room and I was going to be in conversation with someone and have, friends and family come out and do a reading and a Q&A and have the little vampire donuts and giveaway stuff and then have a blood drive happening on the outside, the mobile blood drive unit with Carter. That's the plan. That did not happen because the Fort Worth Public Library stopped doing in-person events, as did most libraries through the pandemic. So I ended up I still did a blood drive. It was outside of an independent bookstore in Fort Worth. And then we did one outside of the Hearst Convention Center. So it was very socially distanced. I didn't do a reading. I sold books at the second event, but not at the first one. So it wasn't the glorious, debut event that I was hoping for, but it was an event. And it got me into the Washington Post Book World newsletter because he thought the idea of a blood drive for a vampire debut novel was hilarious. And so I got that out of that.
You had some really cute ideas and cute swag and donuts with vampire teeth, and that was really, I think you made lemonade out of lemons really well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I am kind of a creative type, which
you
know my family. We're all kind of.
And I know when you started the book club, you didn't think we were still going to be doing this when your book launched November 5th. I mean, we talked about that. You know, we thought, oh, 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 months. We really thought it was going to be over before that, didn't we? Didn't we think it was going to be over?
Well, I think we were having some wishful thinking there. I think we were like, this isn't going to last this long. And then here we are.
I know. So,
Yeah.
So on that vein, this will be my last one, and then I'm going to turn it over and let the vampire questions and all that come in and share with Laura. But I know probably the worst thing that happened to you in 2020. And we're all sorry about the death of your mom to COVID. And that was, I'm sure, the worst thing. I want to know, let's flip it. What's been the best thing that's happened to you in 2020? Besides, you know, I mean, I know you've book launched and all that, but what's the highlight?
Baby Yoda.
Okay, I kind of had a feeling you would say that. Okay,
yeah, I started the book club, and that was wonderful, and I met a lot of new people, and it's been a wonderful experience, and I feel like I'm doing an active service, helping other people, launch their books and get their books out into the world. But when I think about like the thing, the highlights of this year, the thing that I will remember about 2020, other than sourdough bread and learning how to bake it, was The Mandalorian and watching that show and Baby Yoda and just falling completely in love with him. Is that really shallow and weird?
No,
No, that makes total sense.
There is no judgment about this year. There's no judgment. Whatever you like, you get to like it.
Baby Yoda then. And I'm not going to say his real name because Grogu or whatever. He's Baby Yoda.
I watched that show. There is some frequency that it's on. There's a din to it. So the family watches it, and I go in the bedroom and put a pillow over my head because I cannot hear the noise of it. So whatever the noise, y'all have to know. And it's like, okay, I understand how some of the kids on the spectrum feel. So I think that's my spectrum. Whatever the sound is, I don't like it. Okay. So I'm going to segue over and let Paula ask some questions.
Laura?
Okay,
Laura,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at the word Paula right here.
Oh, I mean, you can call me whatever you want.
Is that my sister? My sister is actually attending. Oh, hi, Paula.
That's exciting.
I just saw the word
all the way from California.
Sorry,
okay.
So now we're going to talk about vampires.
Yeah.
So I had a question for you. So you talked a little bit about where the idea for the book came from, vampires and tanning salons, but that's like one chapter out of this crazy book. When did addiction come into it for you, and like looking at the 12-step process and recovery?
Okay, well, it's very personal, but it has been okayed by the people in my life. I am a grateful member of Al-Anon, which is a 12-step program for family and friends of alcoholics. And so I thought about, vampires and the idea of, they want blood and they want blood above everything else. And I thought about, wouldn't that be interesting about, a vampire wanting to be ethical about their addiction. To keep themselves ethical, they had to go to Al-Anon or to AA. She was a double winner. She went to AA to keep herself from drinking irresponsibly, she kills Brittany in the first chapter of the book. So that's just from personal experience is where the idea of addiction came in.
I thought that was really interesting because a lot of times, I mean, like you said, this is not like any vampire book I have ever read before. Usually they're all very sexy and they all know exactly what being a vampire means, which pretty much nobody in this book knows. I loved when she found out about the sun, and then every other vampire she's like, did you know about this? Like, oh yeah, I found it a year ago. So I
Yeah.
loved that they're all just kind of a mess and working their way through this. So I liked, and usually in vampire books, I feel like if there is an ethical vampire who doesn't want to kill or doesn't want to kill humans, they always like have their act together, kind of. And I like the idea that no, this would be incredibly hard for a vampire to do. And I love the idea of them like reaching out and finding a support system for that.
Well, I'm glad you appreciate that. Yes, they do. Vampires need people too, not just to kill, but they need people.
There's the t-shirt. Okay.
Vampires need people too, and not just to kill. They need.
We have a question over here. I was a bit surprised at how several of those who Veronica had not turned anyone else. Was there an intentionality or significance about that? That's a good question.
That is a good question. No, see, the thing about writing for me is that I just let the characters come in and speak and whatever they're going to do. And like, let's say Canute, the first one, he did not want to kill people. So he decimated the beaver population in Pembedon, North Dakota, because he did not want to kill people. And he thought that what Veronica was doing was very immoral and bad, and she was going to go to hell. So he took a moral stance, and, I just felt like that was true to his character, because I thought, if all of a sudden I was turned into a vampire and I had to kill people to like keep alive, I would have a really difficult time doing that. I mean, like, how do I justify this? So, I just kind of let the characters speak for, and I wanted some of them, like Canute, to be instantly brought back to their mortal status. And then there were a couple that obviously they did not, because they had turned other people, like Mary.
Well, I thought that it was really because more people are good than bad. So I don't know, maybe that's
possible. Yeah, I think most people are good. I think that they can be led astray, and but I think that most people, when no one's looking, they're going to do the right thing. And if they were given the choice of, okay, well, you're going to only live if you kill this other person and drink their blood, I think people would be rather reticent about it. Be like, I don't know if I should be doing this. Can I go just get a squirrel or something? I don't know.
Well, what about, I think I saw another question pop up that I had a question about too, which was, and as soon as I said that, it dropped right out of my brain.
Nursing home?
No, but that's a good follow-up about the kind of mercy killing that Veronica decides to do. How did you come up with that? Or how does she justify?
Well, I thought, okay, if she's going to be an ethical vampire, she has to be able to get blood somehow where she's not going against anyone's will. And because of my first book, exploring death professions and hospice and dying with dignity, I thought that Veronica was sort of an angel of mercy, and she was a person that would help people have the kind of death, on their own terms, so that people knew, because a lot of the hospice people that I spoke with, and people may think it's weird, but they said that a lot of people dying will see other people in their rooms, and they talk to other people. And so the people that were dying kind of knew about Veronica and that she could kind of help them. So that was her way to keep ethical, is to help people when they wanted to die, instead of just waiting it out, that she would help them quickly. And they could both benefit.
Laura, was the question that you had about myth busting?
It was. That was the one. I just found it in the chat. Was that there are a lot of vampire myths in here. There are a ton of them that you see in other vampire stories, but you bust some and then keep others. How did you decide which ones, or did you learn anything new about vampires while you were doing research on this, or did you do research?
Yes,
I make an assumption. Okay.
Hold on.
Oh man,
Okay.
she's got a prop.
The Vampire Encyclopedia.
Nice. Half-price books.
At half-price books. My agent at the time, because I hadn't read a lot of vampire novels. I mean, I've read, let's see, probably Salem's Lot. I'd read Interview with the Vampire, Let the Right One In.
Definitely Grady Hendrix.
Yes, and then I read that, but I'd already written the book. So I didn't, I mean, I knew vampire lore because I'd seen vampire movies, I'd seen Dracula, etc. So I knew what the basic rules were, but he just felt it was a bad idea for me to like watch and read other stuff because he thought it might influence like what I was going to write. And I agree with that. So I knew the basic rules, and I just wanted to talk about how we limit ourselves when we give ourselves this narrative, like, you can't do this, like this Hollywood narrative, like vampires can't go out in the sun. They can't go in someplace they've never been invited, holy ground. And so I wanted her, to discover that she could enter a church and go to a 12-step meeting and it would be okay. Or she could, go, out in the sun. But then, that one was the big one, is her discovering that the sun was not going to kill her. And, her life had been so limited by that. And it was all self-imposed, and we do that as women all the time.
That's so interesting, because that's not something that I had put together until you just said that. But something else that I noticed about the book is that I feel like a lot of times vampires in stories, they have clans or families, they're hierarchies where all of this vampire knowledge is passed down. But most of your vampires don't have that. But so I like the idea that they each have to define vampirism for themselves, which comes up with some interesting, and maybe that's part of why they're able to, why you've got so many ethical vampires, because they don't have
anyone showing them the ropes. And the one book that my agent did mention at the time for me to read is called Bowling Alone. Because he mentioned, he's like, all your vampires kind of like they're just doing it on their own. And I'm like, yeah. But I think, I mean, if you know that the AA kind of, what they say about alcoholics are they're very selfish, self-centered people. And, so they're not going to be like, hey, let me tell you the rules. They're going to like, I know the rules and I'm going to keep it to myself. Because I don't want you to know the rules. Yeah. I wrote something about Keith Richards or something in the book about, he's not going to share his rules for scoring heroin, with others.
Yeah.
Like vampires are not going to be like, this is what you need to be doing. It's, you know,
right.
They're going to figure it out and keep it to themselves.
Okay, another question here. This is a funny one for me because this is why I never read any vampire stories ever until I had to read Grady Hendrix and yours in the same week. And I still did not go to the attic in Grady Hendrix. I did not go to the attic. But this one, did you watch Dark Shadows growing up? Because I watched one episode and was affected for life.
Nope, oh, no. I did not. It was a little before my time. I was born in 1970. So
rub it in. Okay, you don't know who Paul was? I'm sorry. That was Sexy Vampire.
No, I mean the movie that like made an impression on me. I mean, I grew up as a teen in the 80s, so Lost Boys and Fright Night were like the two vampire movies that are like the big, you know, made an impression on me. And I tried to share Fright Night with my teenagers a couple months ago, and they're like, oh my God, this is so bad. I'm like, what? I was like, Christopher Sarandon is so sexy. And then I saw it and I'm like, hey, he's kind of weird. You know, he'd come on and he's like in the long leather coat and he's all like, you know, the synth, you know, track comes on and, you know.
I just been there. Had to be
smoke.
Had to be in that okay, we have another question kind of off topic, but on topic. So now you've published both of your nonfiction and fiction. So yep. Which do you prefer?
I would have to say that I actually prefer nonfiction. Because I don't know, that's just kind of my nature is I want to tell a true story and I want to give you facts and I want to give you research. I love to do research. So writing fiction felt really kind of weird and like, is it okay for me to like make all this stuff up? And, you know, it was fun. It was a book that I needed to write and I am going to, you know, continue on with it. But my heart is in the nonfiction. I love writing, you know, like, you know, I wrote the little piece about my mom's death for CNN. And that's the kind of stuff I like to do is
you're good at it.
Personal essay.
You did research for your fiction book. So I appreciated that. I mean, you were.
Well, yeah. I mean, if I'm going to write about a town, I mean,
yeah.
Like there is a bonus chapter and I don't know how we're going to get this out. It's going to happen, but there is bonus content where you get to read about the night Veronica was turned. And when I wrote that, I contacted like a historical architect in North Dakota to find out what houses actually looked like back in the time that this, you know, scene would take place and if there was a basement and where it would be. And yeah, I want to know, I want to do it correctly if I'm going to write about it. I mean, who knows? There could be some untruths, whatever, but I try and be as accurate as possible.
Do you have different approaches to writing fiction versus nonfiction? Or I know you've done a little screenwriting too. Do you like approach those kinds of projects differently from one another?
Well, with fiction, it's just basically, I feel like I have to get motivated to write. Like I have to like sit down and like, okay, where are these characters going to take me? I think that type of writing is a little bit more magical because it is just, you know, if you just sit down and let it guide you and like where it's going to go, because I'm a total pantser. I do not plot things out with fiction. It just comes. And since I'm writing book 2, I have to become a plotter and I don't like that. So with nonfiction, I know a little bit more what I want to say. And with screenwriting, that has informed all of my writing. in that I feel that dialogue is super important. And I know that in reviews, people have noted that the dialogue is heavy. There is some heavy dialogue in my books. You know, like I really depend on dialogue, but I think I do dialogue pretty well. And that, you know, no one is going to say, oh, Pamela, she can write, you know, the prose, you know, she can describe a room so well. They're never going to say that about me. But I can enter, and I know when to start the scene and I know when to end the scene to keep you wanting to read it. And so, you know, I'm not like the greatest writer in the world, but I do know that you enter late and you leave early. And you give them some juicy details so that they keep wanting to read.
Okay, so we have one here. I don't know how much you want to tell us, but we have 2 questions here. Tell us about this as a TV series. Somebody said, oh, I'd love to see it as a TV series. So who would you cast?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
We've been through this, I know.
Yes. And okay. All right. So actually the day after my book came out, I was contacted by a book to film agent, and it is now being shopped as a TV series. So there
you go.
Yeah. And, you know, if it was my dream cast, which that will probably never happen. But at first I thought of Julia Roberts in the role, and not because Julia Roberts, I'm like, you know, I've never been like, oh, she is the most amazing actress. But I saw her in the movie August Osage County, and I was kind of blown away by her portrayal of kind of an older, very angry woman who's been affected by the addiction of her mother. And I'm like, she would be a great Veronica. But then, you know, I've thought about, you know, everyone else has given me ideas of like, you know, who should play Veronica, because I see Veronica as a larger woman. I do not see her as like the Hollywood, you know, and that's probably if they make it into a series, they're going to cast someone who's a size, you know, 4. You know, I could see like Charlize Theron playing her. You know, like if it ever went to production, it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's going to happen in a couple of years. So at that time, you know, Charlize Theron, she's in her like late 40s, I think. She would be a good Veronica. I think Jenny needs to be an unknown, and she needs to truly be young. I think she needs to be a young, unknown actress. Frank, I see as the sheriff on Stranger Things, and I can't remember his name. But, you know, just kind of a big, beefy guy that's just a good guy. And that's who Veronica wants to spend the rest of her life with.
Have you seen Uncle Frank on Netflix? Have you watched Uncle Frank? The movie?
No.
Okay. Well, the whole time I was watching that, his niece is named, her name is Beth, and I can't think of the actress. She's an unknown. I thought she would be a Jenny. So,
well, the actress who would be a totally great Jenny, but she's too old for it now, is the actress who plays Ruth on Ozarks. I can't think of her name, but she talks. She's got the curly hair, and she's like, I can't remember her name.
Let's see, Laura.
So while we're on the subject of Jenny, I thought that it was really interesting looking at the relationship that formed between Jenny and Veronica through this, especially considering that we start the book with that really icy relationship between Veronica and Ingrid, her daughter. So what about let's talk about Veronica as a mother or maternal figure. What was it like writing those 2 relationships?
Well, obviously, Veronica has a lot of resentment at her daughter, Ingrid, who turned her, David Harbour, Stranger Things. Thank you.
There it is.
Garner is
And yes. So she has a lot of resentment towards Ingrid because, you know, she didn't know what, you know, her life was altered. You know, she was turned into this undead creature at the age of 51, which is the most undesirable age to become a vampire. And had no idea what was going on and kind of had to reinvent the wheel at that time. So she had a lot of anger and animosity towards Ingrid. And then all these years span, and I think, you know, Veronica is a very maternal figure, and she had many children, which we never learned about in the first book, but she had many children. And so when she meets Jenny, you know, she wants to help this young lady who is on a flight to a rehab center. And, you know, she doesn't want her to fail. She wants to help her, but she knows that she can't help her because Jenny doesn't really want to help herself at this point. She's just like, whatever, you know. And that's what, you know, anyone who knows an addict or an alcoholic knows, is you can't force them to do whatever they don't want to do. They have to discover it on their own. And Jenny hasn't reached her bottom. So, but Veronica takes a shine to this young woman because Jenny is a very, she's a messed up character, but she is, you know, what's refreshing about her is she's very open and real and abrasive. And I think Veronica appreciates that, you know, that realness, because her whole life has been a lie, you know.
Veronica found her refreshing too in more than one way. So.
Yes. She's the pause that refreshes.
Okay, so you said something there I want to go back to. You said that's the least desirable age to become a vampire, the age of 51. What is the most desirable age to become a vampire?
Well, I would think that it would be when a woman is younger. Childbearing age, yes. When she's not succumbing to all the hormonal.
Menstruating forever, having hormones forever. I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I mean, what do we idolize in our culture? We idolize women who are of childbearing age, who are not on a hormonal roller coaster, on the downward, slope. We want someone going up the roller coaster.
Just yeah, you know, 50's not bad. 51, you know, the hot flashes suck, but
the hot flashes and the mood swings and the insomnia, those things are, they're not, you know, and everybody has different, you know, some women it doesn't affect them as badly. Some women are like, oh my gosh, get me out of here. So it all affects everyone differently. But I think that given the choice, most women would not say, oh yeah, I want to live forever when I'm 51. Because that's when I looked at my best. You know, we may be at our best, you know, in our noggins. Like we're like, I've been around the block. I know what's up. You know, I can, but you know, the body the check engine light has lit up. A little.
I thought you were doing whiskers. The check.
The check engine and check the chin hair light has come. That's what has come on.
Okay.
But I think it's also pretty terrible to stick Ingrid at 15 eternally, too, especially to stick them together. It's probably best that they found different coasts to live on.
That would, that would be the nightmare, is living with a 15-year-old female.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what often happens is you get a parent who's going through a female mom who's going through their own menopausal craziness, and they have a kid who is going through their hormonal, and then you get the that's what happened in my house. My daughter is 20 now.
Hi. Okay, do we have any more vampire questions? Oh, did you have a favorite character to write, or maybe a favorite story of one of the people that Veronica turned? What was one of your favorites?
Okay, well, I loved all right, Jenny was supposed to just be like the worst seatmate ever character that was just going to up the tension on that flight to San Francisco. That's all she was supposed to do. Like, who would be the worst person to sit next to you on this red-eye flight, when you're trapped in Clovis, New Mexico, and you're like, and this person is, on meth. But then, when I read it in my writers group, they were like, oh my God, she's so funny. And I'm like, okay. So then I gave her a blood condition, and I'm like, okay, we're going to keep Jenny around. Jenny is going to be the way that Veronica can keep ethical on this road trip, because she has her blood supply with her, and she just has to put up with her shenanigans. So she was fun. And then I liked the character of Millie. I'm like, how bad would it be to be a vampire and have Tourette's? It
would be so hard to hide.
You just can't sneak up on anyone.
Oh, that one's funny. Okay.
Yeah. I dated a guy with Tourette's. He did not have coprolalia, which is when you swear uncontrollably, but the ticking and I thought, and there are a lot of people have, variations of Tourette's, and I'm like, and one of my favorite authors has Tourette's, and so I thought that would be a very difficult thing to be as a vampire, as someone who had Tourette's. And they thought she was crazy, but she was not crazy. She just had this, weird ticking.
Can you tell us anything about the sequel? Are we going to stick with vampires? Do we get to see werewolves?
No. Zombies? No. Those things are so not real.
Or swamp creatures? But you cannot tell me a swamp creature is not real.
No, there is.
I refuse to believe you.
No, there will not be any werewolves, and It's Wasted on the Young is the sequel to Forever 51, and it's the tale of Jenny. Yeah, no, we're sticking with vampires. What?
Jenny's our protagonist for
yes,
the second one. Do we get to see Veronica again? Or is that spoilers? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. You will see Veronica. Veronica will be instrumental in the plot, because Jenny is going to need her.
Here's another one for you. How did you come up with Bobby Lee's character and his wife?
Oh gosh.
Yeah, let's all take a drink on that one. I'm ready.
Okay. Well, it harkens back to my my love of Red Dragon by Thomas Harris, and I was a little bit obsessed with serial killers when I was younger, a teenager. And after I read Red Dragon and Silence of the Lambs, I wanted to not necessarily work for the FBI, but work with criminal rehabilitation. So I did an internship with the Hall of Justice in San Francisco. And while I was there, I was organizing family visits with the felons. on the 6th floor. And Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, was one of the people on my floor. I was not allowed to hang out with him. But what happened in my internship is that I got lots of love letters from people who wanted to date me when they got out. And I thought about, I mean, I know about the death penalty and wrote about that in my first book. And I wanted to talk about, people who get out on compassionate release from prison. And so I thought, how can I complicate Veronica's life in the hospice facility so that all eyes are kind of on her? Because I needed that, I needed her to want to flee Texas. And, she didn't really want to go hook up with Ingrid because she was so mad at her, but she needed a reason that she had to get out of Texas. So killing Bobby Lee and having that be on, well, there was the videotape and she didn't know what happened with that. So it gave her a reason to go. So I don't know, an ode to serial killers. That was why I wrote about it. He was totally made up, but
kind of reminded me of one of my former neighbors. So I thought maybe
ew.
Former, yeah. Okay, do we have any other questions here? Politics, and when we're with Jenny, we see Jenny trying to get her dad elected. Will she help him? And is that
I know. No, I think that Jenny may give her dad some problems, because Jenny just wants to be accepted and loved, just like we all do, and, Jenny's parents do love her, but they don't accept her for who she is. And they've tried to hide her. And now that her father has the presidential nomination, and Jenny is of the undead and being held by the CIA, she may cause some problems for people. I'm not gonna. Yeah, there will be some problems.
Can't imagine.
Yeah.
In Jenny's quest for love and acceptance. And
Wasted on the Young. That's the thing to remember. Wasted on the Young.
Yes, that title of that book is Wasted on the Young.
What
She's 19. She's forever 19.
Oh, yeah, she's 19.
Ugh, that would be as bad as 51 or worse. Oh, 19.
You think you know so much when you're 19. You think you know.
And when you're about 30, you realize how stupid you really were. Oh.
Yeah. But we all think at 19 that we know what's going down.
And we're invincible.
We finally got it figured out.
Yeah, and we're invincible.
At 19, we're super spreaders, that.
Yes.
What has it been like writing Jenny as the protagonist of this one? Have you learned anything new about her, stepping into her more as your viewpoint character?
Well, it's probably a little bit more difficult for me because Jenny, I mean, I'm not going to say, I'm like totally like Veronica, but Jenny is like the fun character for me to write. I get to say the things that maybe I want to say, but I don't get to say. So it has been a little bit more challenging to write Jenny because she is going to go into something that is going to piss people off because people do stupid things when they're looking for love and acceptance and who they look, who they join with. So that's all I'm going to say about that.
Oh, I definitely, reading Jenny, she was a ton of fun right up until the point when she shot Veronica for laughs. And then I was like, oh, she's not messing around. That was when I realized, oh, Jenny will cross any line you put in front of her. So we need to keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, she likes to shock, and because some people that's how they get their attention. And Jenny has gotten her attention from her parents, not by being a good kid, but being a bad kid. That's how she got her attention. And so that's
any kind of attention will do.
Yep.
Okay. I have a question for you.
What?
We're getting close to the end of the night here, but what are you reading right now?
I'm actually reading a debut novel from Kat Turner, Hex, Love, and Rock and Roll. And yeah, that's on the Kindle that I'm reading right now. It's been difficult for me to read because my mom died October 21st. My stepdad died on the 23rd, and I'm dealing with, getting all their stuff out of their duplex and dealing with that. So it's kind of hard for me to focus on, the escape of that. I did one thing. I'm not a TV watcher, and that's the funny thing, since this book is now being shopped as a TV show, is I just started watching Schitt's Creek and last night. Oh my gosh, I love it. I love Moira Rose. So funny.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one to get mindlessly lost in. Yeah,
it's very funny, and I like all those characters. I mean, they're kind of shallow and horrible, but they're fun.
They're kind of sweet.
They are
I
sweet.
Also just started watching it, so yeah, I'm in the same boat with you. I was like, this is delightful. Where have I been for the last 6 years?
I know, I'm always late to the boat. I mean, I like Breaking Bad. My sister Paula, if she's still watching, she's like, Pam, you have to watch Breaking Bad. And I'm like, and I finally did it, and then I binged watched it to the point of I called in sick to work one day because I was like, I have to watch this. So
oh, okay.
Yeah. Hey, the power of story,
Yeah,
the power of story can change lives.
I'm looking here at the questions while I'm doing that. Do you have anything else?
I think we got to all of my burning questions. That part of the problem I was worried is oh no, when I was reading this, I could just ask you the questions that I had. I said, which ones do I still have in here? I guess we could talk. What about your vampire villains? Because while we have talked about all of your ethical vampires, there's some who don't seem to be burdened by moral obligations. So did you have a favorite one of those, or was it different writing those vampires from Veronica and her pals?
Well, the first one is obviously Betty, and Betty is, she's just, I guess she's the stereotypical sexy hot vampire who's I know what's going down, and and you have done something that's going to hurt my life, and so I'm going to hurt you. So she was fun, but kind of a stereotypical type of vampire. I think the ultimate villain in this is Kevin Black, who Veronica was initially very attracted to. He's the one who wanders in to the ER, and he's been shot, and he's in a motorcycle gang, and so he's the bad boy. And so, spoiler, she ends up turning him after he, basically has his little person shoot her, because he thought that she was a narc, because he'd never seen her use or drink, she'd dump out her drinks because if she would ingest anything, she would violently vomit. So she had to, on the sly, get rid of her drinks. So he thought she was a narc. And so with him, it was like she turned him out of revenge. She wanted him to suffer as much as she had. Not a good thing.
Is he worse than Seamus? I feel like Seamus was the one who freaked me out most. He seems very, very sinister.
I kind of like him. I don't know. I mean, he seems like he's okay, but because he was, he's a victim himself. He was turned, against his will, and then used by the CIA, to kind of head up this secret force within, the Central Intelligence Agency to track the undead and to use them for nefarious reasons. So,
right, but now he's the one using the undead for nefarious reasons.
I mean, he's kind of he is a jerk, but he's a lovable jerk. I don't know. I mean,
all right.
So, okay, how many more minutes do we have until? We have 4 more minutes. Okay, so we have lots of prizes to give away, and I don't know how to do. Because I said that we will do drawings from people who leave comments and questions. So the first 2 drawings are going to be for you're gonna get a digital copy of the book from my publisher DL Links. I totally forgot the name of it. I'm so bad. But his book. It's like a noir book about werewolves. And so I'm going to draw for the digital copy of his book. I have lots of people. Okay. Melissa Avalos is going to win the digital copy. I'm writing that down. Okay. Then the next prize is a Forever 51 face mask, and it is adorable. And so I'm going to be mailing that one out. See, look at all those names. That's a lot.
Ooh.
All those selfies. I appreciate it. I do. Okay. So the face mask is going to, I have 2 names here. Colleen O'Neill Theobald is winning the face mask.
Yay.
Colleen O'Neill. Okay. So the next prize is going to be, I don't know how to do this. Is there a way to for people who commented, probably everyone who posted a selfie. Oh, someone said I can do it.
Just needs a minute.
Okay. All right. Nancy or Amy can do it. Okay. So the first prize is going to be, I'm going to send you, this is a holiday hot mess sweater for your wine bottle.
For your pillow.
And a hangry bar. Because when you're 51, you're a bit hangry. So that's who's going to win this prize. So we have to. Okay. So, okay. Amy, can you let me share my screen?
Nancy to Amy. Okay.
Okay. Oh, look at that. That is so fancy.
Fancy Nancy.
That is fancy Nancy. I love how people can just make stuff happen.
So fast.
Peggy Curry Gleason. Yay. She won the book club basket. So
it pays to participate.
Yes, it does.
And we
okay.
appreciate everybody for participating and staying with the book club.
Okay, I have another one. So this winner is going to win a Hangry Bar, a Vampire Blood hand sanitizer, a sticker, and a button. So can we do the Wheel of Fortune?
Do I need to close?
Do we have to close that?
We can't. Oh,
We can't? Okay.
wait, is she doing it again?
Where on earth did you get Vampire Blood hand sanitizer?
Bath and Body Works in October.
Oh,
It smells great.
Vampire Blood hand sanitizer and Vampire Blood candles were available. They're probably deeply discounted right now.
It
Okay.
looked like Nancy was the one who was doing the spinny wheel, but she lost her connection.
So, okay.
Yay.
She got kicked out. Can you do the spinning wheel of joy?
She said, okay, now I got my messages back. Here we go.
Oh.
Okay. This is my best thing of 2020.
Right? Yeah.
Amanda!
Cuba
Yay.
won. Yay! And the confetti
Okay.
flies.
All right, and I have one last gift. Okay, and it's going to be my first book, Death Becomes Us.
Oh.
Yes, it's
So
a toe.
good. Such a good book. If you haven't read
It's
it,
a toe with a cigarette burning. And it'll be inscribed. I could send it to whoever you want. If you've already read it, and even if you hadn't, I will sign it to you. So can we do the winner of this, please?
I loaned mine to someone who was your son's second grade teacher, and I never got it back.
Uh-oh.
So,
Well, maybe you win.
Melissa won.
Melissa.
I think Melissa has already, but she can tell me if she wants to give it to someone else. So she won twice.
save on shipping.
Melissa, you need to go buy a lotto ticket tonight. Seriously, because you won twice. Okay, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our December selection is The Lion's Den by Catherine St. John. And she just sent me a picture of her next book that is going through the prize. So I think that book, The Siren, comes out in January, and her publisher is going to give 2 copies out to members of our book club. So post your selfies of The Lion's Den. And happy December. Oh gosh, I have one more prize. I'm sorry.
Is it the clothespin?
No. Okay, see, I make book ornaments.
Oh, those are treasures.
Yeah.
They
Those are
are.
treasures.
Okay, so let's do a Believe one.
Handmade books that are ornaments.
Okay, so let's do the Believe ornament. See, it's an accordion book, ornament, and it says Believe.
Do you want to just draw that one from the?
Well, yeah, I will draw it. Well, I'll draw it. Okay, so the Believe ornament. Okay. All right, where's my bag? Okay. Okay. Jennifer Chow, who's a debut author. She won. Amy Lee gets a clue. It's her book, and she has another book that just came out. So Jennifer won.
It's a good palate cleanser too after vampires. Mimi Lee gets a clue.
It has talking cats, and yeah.
Yeah, and two of our books have been two of the books that we've read, Kwei Mai's The Mountains Sing and Michael Zapata's The Lost Book of Adana Moreau are best books of 2020. Two of them, right? Two of them.
From NPR. I know. NPR's concierge book list named Kwei Mai's book and Michael Zapata's book as two of the best books of 2020. And those were our first two books.
For our first.
So there you go.
Hey, we need to go buy lottery tickets. That's what it is.
We all need to buy lotto tickets tonight. So thank you so much for joining us. And
Nancy and Amy, thank you.
yes, thank you so much. Laura, thank you for joining us. I'm sure.
Paula, thank you for joining us. Okay.
Right.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.